Okay, let's get people in.
Yeah. Ooh. Wow.
Welcome,
Our
everyone.
folks. Hey, folks.
Good to see you all.
How are you?
Rolling in. So, David, I don't know. I wrote it out in an email, but I don't know whether you and I officially talked about it. This is, I think this is episode number 52. It's been officially a year since we started this thing.
That's amazing.
It's pretty
That really
cool.
is amazing.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, yeah, that we did it through some say it was the roughest year in my memory. It was a challenging year on every single front. And here we all are. Made it through.
we made it.
Yeah.
And things are looking brighter for many of us. I
Well,
think there's still a little bit to be felt out, but
I just talked to Randy Morton yesterday. Pacific Piano is the worldwide supplier of Tokiwa parts outside of Japan, and he can't keep parts. He's he's
wow,
way behind. There's people are
right.
ordering tons of parts. I know it. This weirdly, this last year has been the best year for us for our restoration team in 5 or 6 years or more.
That's incredible.
More
Yeah.
restorations in calendar 2020 than I've I can again remember. Um, Sold several pianos. Um, my income has been slashed because I haven't really gone out in the field for almost the whole year.
Hmm.
I've got my young partner, former protege, and now unbelievably gifted peer, Nick Morello, uh, do it working a lot, and I get some money from that. But it's been a tough year, but a good year. And I hear from other people that the dam is bursting, and people really want piano service all over the country. That everybody's busy now, and I want feedback from our peeps
Right.
here uh, about what their experience is at this point
Yeah.
with their business. And we also want to make we also want to reiterate again and again, which I've been saying in my classes for at least a decade, if not longer, that the path to success in our craft, I believe, now for the foreseeable future is getting more advanced skills, learning how to really be good at regulation and voicing and diagnostics
Right.
and revive and tweak your tuning skills and just see yourself as a high end custom luxury service provider. See
Right.
yourself as that, feel yourself as that.
Yeah. And also, I forgot to give us an official introduction for those that just joining us for the first time today. So let me do that, and then maybe we'll give people a little bit of our rough agenda. We can always shift directions if something interesting comes up. But let me do an intro, and then we'll lay out the groundwork for today, and we'll move on from there. So this is Piano Tech Radio Hour, and we're joined by many wonderful people who may have been here for 99 to 100% of our sessions over the
It's
past year. So we
amazing.
we thank everyone for joining us and supporting us. Really, this kind of thing, I said in a recent email, it's me and David here talking, and we have people on as guests, but this doesn't really happen with just those three or four people that are doing this side of things. You all are a huge part of it that are in attendance. So thank you so much for being a part. Um, And, again, for newer people, this is Piano Tech Radio Hour. It's being brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses, an online educational resource that offers you cutting edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. You can find out more about that at www.pianotechniciansmasterclass.com. And this is a second episode in a row. It's just me and David here. We're the hosts of the whole thing. Next week, we'll have Nick Gravagna back on the program. He's been on once before, and he taught at the previous, most recent convention, and he's excited to share some interesting things. So, and then just so you have some context, David and I talked a bit before today's session, and we were thinking some interesting topics of conversation might be this topic of how are we going to approach what appears to be a shift now in the economy and the context and our ability to do work, and what kind of things, the opportunities and things like that. It seems like we're going to be able to go back to what we've done, but also we're kind of ripe for a reframe. And so what kind of things, at least, are David and I thinking about what would be a nice way to reframe or refresh our business practices or our professional practices, our skills? And I'd also love to hear opinions from everyone else in the session. So this could be interactive. And we may talk about tuning a little bit as well as just an essential part of our services. And was there other things that?
We were gonna quickly go talk about our impressions of the last virtual piano conference.
Oh yeah, the convention. Yeah, for sure. Cool. So that's about it. And I think David was kind of, actually, I'll shout out people in the chat here who mentioned us. Thanks, Paul, for your congrats on us pulling off these sessions. I don't think we didn't really miss a week at all. I mean, we technically missed a week because of the convention last week, but
right.
I wouldn't count that. Nancy Salmon said, thank you both for all your work, and valuable, a good thing to come out of this year and perhaps worth continuing. We learn most from others and frequently work alone. Yeah.
No question about it. I love this community, and seeing the same names pop up and the same people, it's just very inspiring to me that we've just created this community basically out of these disparate, kind of isolated craftspeople from all over the world. It's amazing. It's really cool.
Yeah. And not to speak for everyone, but I have gotten some messages from folks just with appreciation for these things. One of the things that stuck out to me that someone said is that you don't know, and that was what they really appreciated about having these sessions. They might not have known what they would get out of it if they hadn't attended, but now that they've attended, they're glad they didn't miss it. So I'm glad to hear things like that.
We've had some amazing guests, really.
And people have stepped up to the plate.
Yeah, icons of our little domain. And some other icons are wanting to join us in this new year. It's amazing.
By the way, you know what? We might talk about this. I'm going to throw this out there. It just popped in my head. I'm planning another convention. I think it's going to be for October.
That's good.
If it really is a demand for it, I suppose we could make it earlier. But I'm really interested in people's input on how we could improve upon what we've already done, or even if you haven't been to a convention, like what would be a cool online event. So if it leads there, we can talk about that kind of stuff as well, because there's certainly room to change and grow.
We're going to try to upgrade the conveyor of this to the next, to Zoom like Plus, so we can have broadcast quality audio, so we can do, authentic tuning and voicing classes, right? Things that have to do with hearing. Would you say that?
Yeah, and also we can start to visit people in person again now that there's not a controversy about that. I think that's one of the things that was helpful previously that we did, is just get into someone's live space and set up the microphones and the cameras and the professional video audio crew.
Yeah.
I appreciate all of our instructors working with us, but it's clear that they're not all AV experts, right? They've done their best, and we really appreciate it. But we want, the goal of this project is to allow the instructors to shine through, and they don't actually have to worry about, any of the technical things that might happen. So moving on from the pandemic, we'll be able to get back to that. So in a minute here, I'm going to go grab my charger because my battery's running out. But I want to start us on this topic that you kind of alluded to as we were going. What David and I were saying is this time right now is a time to maybe, and again, this is not, a requirement of being a part of this group or anything, but it may be a time to raise prices, and it may be counterintuitive. But the economy and, things that I see going on in the economy, there's a lot of money coming from the government, in economic stimulus and things like that might cause a little bit of inflation, and not in just wanting to, raise a price. It's almost it keeps it the same. And it may not be as clear that that's what's going on, that just by raising a price, you're kind of actually keeping your standard of living. And Carl is our resident expert on that. I see nodding, raising his hand. Definitely love your input on it. You want to, I think you can unmute yourself.
Yeah. I listen, I wanted to say that, and this is an opportunity. Of course, I'm always someone who says we don't charge enough, but this is a time people expect. They're so happy to be able to get service again.
Right.
And everyone knows that things are inflating. Everyone knows all this money is being printed. This isn't a time to just keep up with inflation. This is a time to get ahead of the curve. You'll be rewarded well if you significantly raise your prices. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you for adding that and support. And I think I've even heard the advice, which is irrelevant at this point, of actually raising your prices when the economy is not good across the board, just to isolate yourself from the kind of cost cutters, right? And oh no, I'm the premium service, and what I'm going to do is go the extra mile. No, I'm not going to charge extra for basic level things, but I charge significantly, and I am what David often says. He's got the exact words for what he says, but kind of custom, premium, throw in a little extra on this, and it's the special things that you do and the thought that you put into it that really makes for the value for those type of clients anyway. So
somebody is having a conversation in the background, a woman's voice. So could you please mute if you're not speaking?
Oh, I can't even hear that. I'm curious. So David, what are you still hearing that voice, by the way? Everybody's muted.
No more.
Okay, good. Yeah, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm with Carl.
And I'll be right back on screen in a minute.
And I know that Bill Monroe is here with us today. I'd like his take on this present time and how his business is feeling right now, and what his level of busyness is. And I'd like to hear from everybody. I'd like to hear from whoever wants to tell us, tell our community how they're doing and what they're thinking about their craft and their business right now. What I want to say is what I've been saying for a long time, which is, and I'll repeat it, they with the most skills win. So if you get a reputation as a great tuner, voicer, regulator, as somebody that can really make a piano sing like a bird, you will raise your income, raise your level of self-respect, and raise the amount of fun and fulfillment you get from your work. Bill Monroe, tell me how your business is going, and how it's changed and what you see for the coming opening.
Sure. I find myself in the fortunate position, I guess. Things are as busy as they've ever been for me. I intellectually, I have, for the last 5 or so years, have managed to get my brain on board with kind of what Carl talks about. And this, like, we historically, we don't charge enough as piano technicians. And so I've come to grips with that intellectually. I still struggle with the mechanics of it internally. Every time I raise rates, I always feel like, oh gosh, I don't want to be doing this. And every time I do, it's met with just more and more success. And there's some sort of disconnect in my own personal brain where, for whatever reason, I can't put those two things together enough and just convince myself at the outset, like, yep, it's time, rates have to go up. But it always works in my favor. I guess for me, a stark example of that was this past year in 2020. And actually, as we came on the air here, I was just about to open up my books and look and see if I could find the exact reason. But I did not work for 2 months in 2020, and just shy of 2 months. And 2020 was my best year ever as a piano technician.
Wow.
And
Wow.
the without looking into my numbers and seeing exactly where that came from, what I will say for certain is that I'm more diverse today than I've ever been, in terms of all of the things that I do as a piano tech and as piano technology related topics go. I'm unapologetic in selling additional work to every client that I come to. And it's, I talked about this, I think, when I was on here as a guest a couple of months ago or whatnot. And just this idea that, approaching things from the perspective of educating our clients and just sharing with them, like there's even the nicest pianos that I come to, and I always kind of phrase it that way, that there is literally no piano that I come to that I can't make better. And
Oh,
I think when you talk to clients in that way and share with them, not, oh my goodness, your piano is in such a terrible state, but your piano can be better. And your piano is no different than any other piano I see. So I'm not singling you out, but I'm telling you, if you desire more, we can get you more. And I write so many estimates, which, are very easy to do once you get started, and send them out, and I don't worry about them. People will or will not do the work.
right.
And if you share with them what they could have, I find surprisingly in some cases, what it surprises me sometimes which customers decide they want their instruments to be better. And I bring that up only because I think that has been a significant source of my success in the last decade, particularly, of being busier and selling more work and earning more money as a piano technician, is that this stuff is just constantly coming in. And not just from last week, but from 2 months ago or from a year ago or 2 years ago, up to like the craziest one I had in the last couple of years. I had one job come in from an estimate 7 years ago, another one from
Wow.
9 years ago. And it just,
Wow.
naturally we had to update numbers and all of that. But it comes back to you in spades, I think, when you approach things that way, as we can make things better if you want it, and if you don't, that's fine too. I'm happy to come in tune and continue to service the piano, but by and large, it's like I said, it's as good today as it's ever been for me. And I credit a lot of that to continuing to stay on the high end, and I'm the most expensive technician in my area, which that's not the goal in and of itself, but there's work that comes with that, and there's freedom for me that comes with that too, as a technician, to help myself be a better technician and to grow, and so all of that stuff kind of works together.
So do people tell you that? Do you still get a lot of referral business, and you say, "Oh, this guy said that you were the best person around"? I mean, is that your kind of is that the awareness of you in your area?
For sure, yeah. A great deal of work. New clients are direct referrals from folks that I've worked for in the past. Um, yeah, I mean, the word of mouth is always, it's a great in. When someone refers you to somebody else, you don't have to work very hard to earn their trust.
Right,
Uh,
that's right.
so
A
yeah,
whole veil of mistrust
yeah.
is
Well,
taken
and
away.
and truly that's something that I pursue very aggressively with my customers, and I've suggested some customers go elsewhere at times, rather than stay with me, because I felt that we didn't have a relationship of trust, and that the work that we do, nobody understands what we do, with very
No,
rare exceptions. So
yeah,
it's worse than going to an auto dealer if you don't know anything about cars. Like, you are forced to trust that person that you work with, and it's no different for our clients. They have to trust us to do what's in their best interest. And I think, we can be um, as honest and straightforward, and we can be the best people in the world, and still that only goes so far. But
yeah.
what speaks volumes is our results. And when
That's
we
right.
tell people that we're going to achieve a certain level of improvement for them, and then we do more than that, um, that's impressive to them. And then all you have to do is do that once, and then they know they've got the real deal. They know
That's
that
right.
you are as good as you say that you are, and things just grow from there.
Some people, however, just are not capable of having a trust based relationship in the financial domain. They're just, I mean, I've run into dozens of clients over the years that just, they can't trust you. It's just not in their nature to trust somebody who they're paying because they think everybody's trying to screw them, or they just have a cultural thing or a family thing that says, well, you always dicker with price wise and, you know,
Can I tell a
this,
story?
yeah, sure, suspect that, you know, the people are, you know, messing with you.
Yeah. I just think it's a funny personality, interesting personality. I had some fun a little bit working with this person, but in the end it didn't work out. But just a little an exact illustration of what you're talking about. New York City, we were tuning in New York City. I actually didn't go out and work um, for this person. I'll try to make it as anonymous as possible. But a couple of the technicians on our team did, and and it was exactly what you're saying, David. It was I'm sure we've all had this experience. You do the work, and then they planned that they go through and just try to find something wrong as a
Right.
negotiating tactic.
That's it.
Oh, what's this? What's that? Or this is a little bit of, and it's just kind of manufactured because they're a negotiator. And I will tell you, this particular person was one of those people that had photos of themselves all over their house with famous politicians. I'm talking Bill Clinton, George Bush Jr. and Senior, like just connected and all these things, but a negotiator, like we know that personality, and kind of a negotiator back from like the 80s style, really hard negotiator kind of thing. And it just became a pattern that was so apparent that as a negotiator personality, they just wanted to get everything just very, very, very low priced. And at first, I kind of had fun with it a little bit, and in the end, it became too extreme. It's one of those things. Those type of negotiators, they leverage sort of those little things that they built, the photos of the connections, and the, hey, you're always going to have to give me the best price because I've got all these things. It's my reputation. And in the end, we just had to give that up and say, we can't work with, this is literally, you're trying to pay too little for the work to make it worth it for for people to work,
You know,
and
the,
it was a tough decision, but we had to just
yeah,
draw the line.
yeah. The only bad experiences I've had in my piano business have been when I've worked for people that my gut was telling me, no, man, these people will never trust you. They're just not built that way. And I went ahead and did something anyway. It's it doesn't pay unless you have a kind of a native intuitive, like, yeah, I'm going to get what I'm paid for, what I'm paying for, and I'm going to let this person just do their thing, and I'm not going to bang them, you know. um I just, it's the most aggressive advice I give to people starting out or in the early parts of their career in this business. Don't deal with clients that don't trust you. It always leads to a bad end, whether it's a minor bad end. I just, you have to tell them you're not going to work for them anymore, or a major bad end, they sue you. They stiff you and sue you, and it's not good. And I'd love to hear from some of my brothers and sisters here about their experience. How are we doing in the chat? Anybody got questions in there? I know that Josh Martell had a question about enrolling teachers to get their pianos students tuned, and
Yeah.
that's always been kind of like in my experience, a dead end.
And by the way, I thought I saw someone waving, but maybe they weren't. I just want to check in. Robert Wilson, did you have something to say?
Just to tell you of my experience, I'm speaking to you from London.
Yeah.
Have you? Just quick question: have you joined us before, or is this?
Every time, yes.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
I don't think
Wilson.
we've talked to you though. Nice
we
to
haven't
meet
talked to you, but I see your shining face every single time, brother.
Well, my experience is I haven't worked for a whole year. I'm like David. I haven't been out on the road. I've worked for Andrew Lloyd Webber for 32 years, servicing all the West End shows. And of course, they've all shut down now. My private clients, I'm not allowed to go into their houses yet, but we're beginning to unlock a bit now. And maybe by May, I can do some piano tunings again. But I'm with Carl. We shouldn't go back to where we were. We should charge more once we restart.
Oh, no question. No question about it, because people are excited and they're eager and they want you.
Absolutely. They're all on the phone, desperate to have their pianos tuned, because they're stuck at home playing them and they're all out of tune.
Of course they are. So they're really strict about this in England, huh? About you not going into people's houses?
Absolutely. But we do have the luck that our government pay us 80% of our profits, averaged over 3 years. For while we're not working. So, I mean, we're not desperate. It's not a financial catastrophe.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing.
We're very
lucky.
Have
that support. You're very lucky is right. Because we don't have that kind of support in the United States. I lost easily $40,000 or $50,000 this year by not going out and working, and there's no way to recoup that for me. I mean, there's small business loans which you can apply for, and I got one small one for $10,000, but that's it. There's somewhere between $30,000 and $50,000 I just lost, and nobody's replacing for me, and I can't replace for myself. So it's tough, but Robert, you're finding that people are very eager now. And what is it?
On the phone every day. They desperately want, because I can't go yet, but I think in May, if things go well, in May, we might be able to unlock a bit more and catch up with things like that. But I miss them. It's been being locked down. Your life changes quite a lot.
It does. Trust me, I know that.
I'm gonna create a little poll. I don't know if we've done this in these before, but to find out who, and it's anonymous, who might have taken advantage of, the recovery loans and grants and things. And I also, I don't know the latest, but I feel like I got an email that said if my business hadn't taken $10,000 in recovery assistance, that depending on your area where you live, you might be able to get some more recovery assistance too. So
Well, that's
that
awesome.
that could be useful for us to throw out there. I'm sure maybe someone in the group knows something about that.
I do. Can I say something? My
Yeah,
wife
go
just
ahead.
applied for there's a new round of PPP loans through a company called Womply.com, WOMPLY. It's a 5-minute process. You basically get a loan for 20% of your gross for your last tax year filed. So, if you had $100,000 in gross, you'll get a loan for $20,000 that's forgivable. And as a self-employed person, usually 60% has to go to wages. But as a self-employed person, that requirement is waived. It just has to be for legitimate business expenses.
Wow. Thank you, Carl. WOMPLY.
Womply. They're the people giving out, doing it. It's a 5-minute process. It's really easy. You upload your bank records, you upload your tax records, blah, blah, blah.
Wow. Okay. That's beautiful. Wow.
Yeah, some of this stuff is not, I mean, it's, I struggled with it just because I struggle to keep track of, bureaucratic things. My mind just blanks when it's just filling out forms and stuff. I just want to do things that feel more productive. But that having been said, a lot of these forms, once you just figure out how to do it, it's relatively simple. So, sometimes it's just a handful of numbers you put in there and upload a bank statement or something, right? And so that's useful to keep in mind. Was somebody going to say something? I didn't mean to cut him in. Yeah, Donna, what do you got for us, Donna Bird? Bird's the word. Let's unmute you.
There.
There you go.
You don't know how glad I am to see you all today. I totally lost today. I tried to go to a funeral and there was no one there, and I tried to go to church and Zoom didn't work and nothing technical worked. And oh my gosh. And I painted my kitchen ceiling last night till about 11 o'clock, and with all my lamps couldn't see any longer. But my burning question is, though I've been retired for 10 years, I can't give it up because of the pull of loving the work. But I got 3 calls one of those days, Thursday, Friday, whatever it was, that reminded me of when my kids were little, and of course they didn't do it, but would call people and say things like, well, is your refrigerator running? The call came from 3 people. One had just inherited an instrument that I believe Elton John had autographed, and so forth and so on, and a bunch of details. And it would mean so much if I could call and make the piano better. One from an Asian sounding woman who just had been given a piano by her sister, and it would be so dear to her heart if I could come do it. And the middle one, I don't remember, but they all had a certain text, like they were in the same fraternity sorority co-op and were just seeing what they could do. Or perhaps they'd all seen my car with the number on it at the COVID vaccine site. But it just seemed totally bizarre to get that kind of call. I mean, there are still people that have my cards or billing statements, whatnot, from years ago, and they call me and I go, but these I just uh, don't want to think of myself as a paranoid person, but when my computer and nothing comes on the right day, it's insane.
So your burning question is, should you get back with these three people?
Should I get back with them, or has anyone ever had that type of litany
yeah.
on their calls?
Oh, sure. All the time. I get some calls from people that said, I heard about you from a neighbor that I had 10 years ago. And she said you were the best technician that ever came to her house. And now I'm calling you. And I get all kinds of strange calls. You know, I inherited this piano, or I got this piano, or my grandmother who lives way far away from me passed away and I inherited this Steinway and
3 in one day?
I've had 2 in one day. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's no harm. You can just call them back and see. You'll be able to see, Donna, within 2 or 3 minutes whether they're real or not, right? Just ask them some questions about the piano
Okay.
and where you got it, and just ask them some logistical stuff. And if they start to get, hinky, you can see that maybe this isn't what you thought it was, and, but I would, if it's really a real opportunity, don't let your paranoia drive you away, because those would be amazing opportunities for you to practice this craft at a high level.
Yeah, and you can also have a friend or associate call the people back and say that they're your booking assistant or something, and just have them have a little conversation just to filter it and make sure that it all makes sense.
You could do that. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I would have, if I had a question about somebody, I would have my business manager who works, part-time for me and does an incredible job. I would have her call them and just kind of try to set an appointment and talk about the money and see what they said, right?
Okay. It's not something that's just a wild hair.
No, I wouldn't say. I mean, it could be, but it's a weird prank, to make up these stories. I just don't see it. I think you should call them back, and
Okay.
I think you'll probably get to work. Let's talk about Josh Martell's question. Do we talk to piano teachers about tuning their student pianos? Well, my first question is, how many piano teachers do you have, and are they good clients? Because in my experience, the percentage of piano teachers that can be good clients is really small where I live. Most of them hardly ever tune their pianos. They're cheap.
Yeah, for me, well, us in New York, I know there's a handful of piano teaching. The ones that have been the best for us are the ambitious piano teachers who have decided to create a little school out of what they do.
Yeah, the high-end ones. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got a guy, he was one of my first clients when I moved to New York, and he's used all the different tuners that I've had on my team, and he loves our service, and he's been building his business even since I moved to New York. He was a teacher. He came up with his own sort of method of teaching. He started bringing on other teachers, and creating a whole service, and that's great because he refers us to his students, he refers us to his other teachers, and so that's a great resource. And by the way, interesting thing about that particular client, he also refers other technicians sometimes, and I'm not
Wow.
sure. I'm not sure why, and maybe he vacillates between times that he prefers, or maybe he has specific clients that he thinks would work well with one type of thing. So I've at first it would kind of bother me a little bit and be like, hey, we're your we're your piano referral people, but it's interesting to just reflect on over the years. It's totally okay. I think he's trying to build relationships with many people in the industry in the area, and then yeah, there's a few more teachers that are like that, and we try to hold on to those and give them, just treat them well and appreciate their willingness to kind of share. But the individuals is we don't even find out if they're a teacher even at that point. They just kind of get in and out of the house, and they might have a handful of students.
So Joshua Martel, can you speak to us about your experience with teachers and teacher students?
I'm quite new. I don't actually have any. I don't have teacher customers. I'm just wondering I know a lot of people have been hearing their students' pianos for the first time, and thinking that maybe this could become more formal. Some teachers might want to know that their students have had their pianos tuned before they accept them for the new school year or whatever.
Listen, if you have a good relationship with a teacher and you perceive that they trust you and you can have a good relationship, then by all means exploit the fact that they have 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 students, and that every one of those people, I'm assuming, has a piano. So yes. Yeah, but if you can find teachers that you can have a trust-based relationship with that will trust you and respect you and understand that it's important for them to keep their piano in shape, that's great. Yes. Where do you live, Josh?
A little bit south of Chicago.
Do you have any mentors in the area? Are you taking advantage of older, wiser piano technicians?
I am absorbing everything I can from every place I can.
That's great. That's a fantastic attitude. How long have you been working in the craft?
I've been learning for probably a year and a half now. But the bulk of that is COVID. So I've tweaked on my piano a lot. And I do have a few others that I've worked on, but it's been limited still.
And so how you doing with tuning?
I'm getting there. I think I need some more pianos under my belt. I'm quite slow, but I can hear most of the things that I want to. And I think with some more practice, things will come together.
I love that. I love that answer.
One thing that Josh is reminding me of, I wasn't going to say it earlier because I wasn't sure like the general range of experience of our crowd this particular day. And it's along the lines of aiming for the high end, even charging more, things like that. I think especially for the younger technicians or the newer technicians, it's really great if you feel comfortable, even if you feel a little bit uncomfortable, try to become a teacher of some sort, or somebody that can help others learn things. And the reason I say that is because, you might not feel, even if you don't feel fully equipped, just try little things. Like maybe you just know something about, calculating the frequencies of the 12 notes of the temperament, and somebody doesn't, right? Just like find yourself in situations where you can share something with somebody else and try teaching it. And the reason behind that is, number one, it's great for your own learning. You start to understand things better. But number two, you start to then it helps with your reputation as you grow.
That's right.
Now, as you're teaching early on, it might not help a ton because you're not going to be a great teacher, but you can only get to be a good teacher by trying teaching over and over again, and you got to start somewhere. So I think it's important.
Yeah. I totally agree with that.
Diane Hofstetter has a comment.
Yes. Hi, Diane.
To talk about a group of teachers who need us, and especially new people. About 15 years ago, I was working for a community college, and I tuned their piano, their Börsendorfer, for a concert the symphony was putting on in their new concert hall.